we have to do to move ahead and advance. Working people produce all of the wealth in the world. Working people, farmers produce all of the wealth and food in the world. It doesn't come from any place else. But we don't determine what happens to any of it. They use it against us, and when I say they, I want to be very specific. The rich use it against us, and we don't receive any of the benefits of what we create. We are driven into poverty by the wealth that we create because they control that. We think that this fight that is taking place in India has to be shared with workers and farmers throughout the United States as well as throughout the world. Our candidates all over this country, we have candidates of the Social Workers Party running from various offices, are going to workers that are involved in struggles, in strikes that are here, in struggles, in lockouts that are here. The movement against police brutality, and beginning to talk about some of these issues and why it's important and why we have to link up with each other to understand what is going on. Again, we produce the wealth in the world. We are regarded as garbage. We're regarded as disposable until we stop, until we draw their attention with our massive ability to come together and unite. That's what the Indian farmers are doing. The lessons are so important for everybody to get through and to understand. And that's why, we're here. I'm a resident of D.C. Welcome to D.C. So glad to have you here. We want you to come back. We want you to help to mobilize us. And we will do everything in our power to get out the information on this struggle. We want you to speak to our meeting. Understand your importance. I know you do. Understand your importance, not just to yourself, but to what's going on in the world and what we have to achieve. Okay, thank you for inviting me.
Loud. Please give it up for James Harris, please. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Next, I want to introduce, and I'm honored because when she reached out and she told me she's from California and she's flying out just for this, it was a very big honor because she actually, I don't know if anybody watched the Fresno Super Bowl commercial? Anybody saw that Fresno? So she was behind it as well as her team. So please, Raj Sodhi, please can you come to the stage? And your daughter can come with you too so you can go next.
Anji, Sasrikal. Good afternoon. So greetings from Fresno, California. I am an agricultural lender in the Central Valley, the breadbasket of the world. Today is about awareness in America. Can you imagine the population of California is about 40 million people, right? Can you imagine 6 times that on strike? I just can't imagine that. So there's 1 million people on the streets, as you've heard, and unfortunately we've had 300 deaths. The synergy between the farmers in America and the farmers in India goes back to George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. Quote, "If you don't have your roots in farming, you are not grounded." My farmers, my clients, they own 10 acres, 20 acres, 40 acres. They are the small farmer, and they are showing signs of struggle. And this really hits home for me. Crop prices have decreased, expenses have gone up. The pandemic last year, they couldn't export their crop to China or to India. So it's going to get a lot tougher for the small farmer in the Central Valley. The difference is our country, as mentioned earlier, offers our farmers financial assistance. The SBA offers SBA EIDL loans. unfortunately, India doesn't want to help the small farmer. There's a group in California called PAAG, P-A-A-G. It's a fairly new group, and it stands for Punjabi American Growers Group, and they're trying to create efficient ways to help the small farmer grow different types of crops, so that not everyone is growing almonds and raisins and pistachios. Perhaps we need to move into a different arena. Fresno County contributes $7 billion towards the GDP. California contributes $50 billion towards the GDP. You know who's second? The film industry out of Hollywood. They're second to the farmers. And as I mentioned earlier, 5 years ago, the average farm in the USA was 330 acres. The small farmers in America are the hardest working group of people I know, from dusk to dawn, and God bless them. You probably saw the 30-second Super Bowl ad out of Fresno. We also did a national ad in 21 major cities, and from that, I received, unfortunately, some very threatening emails, as you can imagine, from the opposition. And so one of the gentlemen said, "You're spreading lies out of the Bay Area." One of them said, "You don't love India." Well, I want those people to know I love India. I love India because my blood is Indian. My grandparents, my bibi and my baba, my nani and my nanaji, they were proud Sikh Punjabi farmers. I loved my grandparents and I love my parents. Their history and heritage belongs to all of us. The Sodhi and the Hoti families are like so many across America and across the world. When India says to us, stay out of our issues, makes absolutely no sense to me. They obviously don't know the size of the diaspora across the world. It does affect all of us. 300 deceased. How many more have to die before the Indian government decides to listen to its own people? 1 million people on the streets. We need America to wake up, hear us, help us. The president and the vice president need to listen to us. And in conclusion, I just want to mention something very, very, very important about the Sikh religion and women. Guru Nanak said over 500 years ago, from woman, man is born. Within woman, man is conceived. To woman, he is engaged and married. Woman becomes his friend. Through woman, the future generations come. When his woman dies, he seeks another woman. To woman he is bound, so why call her bad when she gave birth to kings of kings? So, we stand with farmers, we stand for humanity, we stand for our future. No farmers, no food. Let's stand united. This fight is not over. Thank you.
You guys gotta give a big round of applause for that. The work she's doing in California is just amazing. And speaking of people doing work, my brother right here, Karanveer Singh, he actually was on the ground for a couple of months, and now he's back in the United States, trying to create awareness in front of the White House. So he's a very informative speaker, very educated speaker, and we would love for him to talk about MSP and other topics he would like to cover right now.
Waheguru Khalsa, Waheguru Ki Fateh. Long live the farmers! Long live!
Farmers!
Long live the revolution! Long live!
Revolution!
So we stand for the same values that the office behind us, which is the most powerful office in the free world. So we are here to urge to Mr. President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and the distinguished members of the Congress of the democracy that helps and has upheld the values of freedom, justice, liberty, and equality throughout the world. So we are here to request the American public and the elected officials to please raise their voice for the inhumane treatment of the people protesting in India, for Indian farmers, for food security. So, as you know, that it's our human right to have access to food. That's the basic human right. All living organisms, whether they're horses, whether they're dogs, whether they're any animal, anyone living should have access to food. So as you know, 45% of children sleep without food in India every day. We rank as a 94th country on the hunger index of the Human Development Indexes that are released by United Nations. We still are fighting with hunger, and we think that we would be the superpower of the world. How are we going to build a future where our children don't have food to eat? So this is a very shameful fact that India has become the suicide capital of the farmers of the world. More than 400,000 farmers have lost their life in just 15 years. So is there something wrong? So have you guys heard about the word MSP? As one sister over here from American University mentioned, the minimum support price. It's like minimum wage. Asking for MSP is not a political issue. It's not a partisan issue. It's not a religious issue. It's not a socialistic issue. It's not a communistic issue. It's a human right issue. We want food for our families and our kids. We don't want anybody to sleep hungry at night in this world. That is what the Nishan Sahib stands for. That's what American flag stands for. That's what we stand for. We are sons and daughters of farmers who have no religion, no political affiliation. They have only one duty to fulfill, to feed the world. We farm, you eat. We farm,
you eat.
We farm,
You eat.
We farm,
You eat.
So we will go into what exactly is this farmer protest about, because many people don't know about the three laws and what is the second demand, which I think is the first most major demand, which has been going on for 25 years. MSP, minimum support price. So these are the two basic things that everybody is fighting for in India. So the three farm laws, which in the first place should not be called farm laws, because there's nothing related to farming in these laws. They are trade and commerce bills. They should be called Adani Ankle laws. There's nothing for the farmer in these laws. It is a propaganda. It is a marketing scam by the government of India to call them farm laws. So the first law, which talks about the mandi, the market that we've been talking around. So I will just give you a brief definition of a free market, because you guys over here know what free market is. Probably the economists in India, they know it too. But the government of India doesn't care to ask an economist what is a definition of a free market. Just imagine if we have New York Stock Exchange as a free market where Amazon could sell their shares, Facebook could sell their shares. Anybody could buy the share price, could buy the share at the market price, which is regulated by demand and supply. You could buy one share for the same price. You could buy 100. You could set up a conglomerate with your family and friends and buy 1,000, million. You would get the same price. But that's not the case with the so-called free market that this Indian government is trying to create with this new policy. They're trying to split an existing market into multiple markets. They're trying to kill the Food Corporation of India, which sets up these mandis or markets, as we call them, throughout the country. So the matter of fact is this, that in 1965, we were fighting a war with one of our neighbors, and we had still not come out of the famines of the World War II, because the yield per acre was very low. You know, we didn't have a regulated economy. We were just born like 15 years ago. So we were still fighting, and one of our allies in the free world refused to give us wheat and crops because they allied with our enemy state at that time. So Lal Bahadur Shastri, the most honest, the most honorable Prime Minister that India has ever had, he gave the slogan of Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. Hail the farmer, hail the soldier. We will fight with hunger and we will fight with the enemy at the same time. And the Indian Army under the flag of Nishan Sahib that you see here, which is a flag of humanity and not a flag of any political idea. We fought under this flag. We defeated the enemy. We got Green Revolution. Punjab and Haryana, like brothers, fed the country. They together became the wheat bowl, the wheat basket of India. We wasted our water, polluted our soils with dangerous fertilizers. We've become the most cancer, the area with most cancer patients in India. We put ourselves on the line for the country. And these people, these thankless, ingratitude-filled terrorists sitting in the Parliament of India, we call them, how dare you call us terrorists? We have the most sons and daughters laying life for our motherland in any page of the history. So the first bill, as we talked about, is the free market that India government assumes is a free market, but is the new scam to victimize families, take away food from kids, and there's nothing free market about it because there's no minimum support price. Because all the three bills tie up to minimum support price. There's no point of having a market when there is no price for your goods. We ask the government to give minimum support price as the starting bidding price for all the crops, not just 23 crops that they declare the prices for. So Modi ji, Prime Minister, he says MSP was always there, MSP will always be there, and MSP will always remain. Look at this scammy statement. They only declare MSP for 23 crops out of more than 650 crops which are grown in India. They buy only 6% of wheat and rice which is grown in Haryana and Punjab only because of the quality of produce that we have. So just imagine, they're saying that MSP is always there. They are trying to scam us by telling that they declare MSP on 23 crops is equal to buying all 100% of those 23 crops at that price, which is not the case. They only buy 6% to 16% of the produce, depending on how much they want, and for the PDS, which is the public distribution system for people living under below poverty line. So Indian government only buys 6% of the crop from Punjab and Haryana, which is the most progressive states in Indian agriculture right now. So Punjab and Haryana, they don't need to basically have to be on the forefront because it's the right thing to do. They are leading this protest. They have always done that. They've always stood up for the right thing. So coming to the second law, which is the Essential Commodity Act of 1955, which has been amended. So this bill was originally, passed in 1955 for the protection of the consumer. So there would be no big corporations trying to, create a monopolistic market. And an analogy for this would be that, we have antitrust laws in America. When a corporation gets bigger than like 50% of the market, they try to become, through coalition or through oligarchy, a system of being the price makers, being the people who control the price of the commodity by hoarding the crops, the produce, or, just releasing the produce at the time of buying. So there's so much supply in the market, so the farmers could not get the price. So it is a scam that they're doing. So with this law only, with the Essential Commodity Act amendment only, this only law is so dangerous that it will take away from all the people who earn less than 100,000 rupees a year. And I'll tell you a fact. The median income of an Indian farmer is 2,700 rupees, which equates to $30. And the irony of the situation is, I would give you a brief example about, a Grameen Bank, Muhammad Yunus, who floated the site, Bangladesh, he's been working since 1974. It talks about right to credit. The way we have right to food, small farmers, small businesses should have right to credit, because these people are charging 4% interest on these farmers every month. 200,000 rupees loan, age less than 45. These two criteria alone have the highest suicides. Farmers, like young farmers, are committing suicide the most. That's the most dangerous fact. And the contract farming bill, which is the third bill, that's so dangerous. They want to grab our lands. Have you all guys seen that movie Gone with the Wind, 1939? Did you hear what Scarlett said? That I don't care about the plantations, Dad. I don't care about the food, whatever. Her dad told her that land is the only thing worth dying for, because it was the only thing that will ever remain. So they're trying to grab our lands. There would be no freedom of lands. So third law, the lands from the farmers. And I really appreciate all the Sangat, New York Sikh Council, different organizations, Sangat from New Jersey, Virginia, Sikh Sangat, Maryland, Washington, D.C. Yeah, and organizations like Khalsa Aid, United Sikhs, Sarbat Pala, all the organizations that have been on the forefront of this movement. We cannot imagine a movement this bigger without, American Sangat. So I will say that, home of the brave, land of the free has always stood up for the right thing and will continue to do so. So I want to introduce to you our next speaker, Uncle Ji. So because, appa thoda Punjabi de vich bhi gall karni hai, appa apni bhasha nahi chhadni kade bhi. There is no culture without agriculture. If we forget our cultures, if we destroy our culture,